I'd like to start this meeting, please. Town Council meeting of Thursday, December 1st. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. First of all, Bill Boyd has been excused for this evening, and Dan Dreyer will be here. He just called and said he'd be about 10 minutes late. There are no announcements on here. Oh, never mind. I moved the piece of paper. I knew at least of these. Announcements. The Town Council is scheduled to meet on the following dates. They're all regular council meetings, and they're all here in the Matthew Thornton room. I'm sorry, they're not all regular. I'll tell you when it's not. Thursday, December 15th is a regular council meeting, 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton room. Monday, January 9th at 6 p.m. here is a budget meeting, beginning of the season. Thursday, January 12th, again, we return for a regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in this room, Matthew Thornton room, and another budget meeting on Thursday, January 19th at 6 p.m. And that's it. Eileen?
I know that I said this at the last meeting, but I wanted to remind everyone that the 23rd Annual Holiday Parade and Christmas tree lighting will take place this Sunday, December 4th. The theme this year of this year's parade is the Griswold Family Christmas, and it will kick off at 3 p.m. from the Commons Shopping Plaza, 515 Daniel Webster Highway, travel down DW Highway to Babuzik Lake Road, and end at the Town Hall parking lot. The Christmas tree lighting ceremony with Santa Claus will begin immediately afterwards at Abbey Griffin Park at approximately 3:45. Tax bills have been issued and are due by Monday, December 12th. Because it's always that way, though, you know. The 2017 resident decals for the transfer station are in. Residents can pick up the decals at the transfer station, the town clerk's office, or the public works office. Thank you.
Okay, PFOA, I just have one thing to report myself. I had asked Eileen to contact DES to see what the status of the blood testing was. We had been told that 200 letters were being sent out. What was the status, that kind of thing. So she did receive information from Jeff Parrott, who's from the Public Health, who's doing the survey. 200 letters have been sent out because 200 is going to be the essential minimal number needed to do the survey and do the blood studies. They are well below the 200 return. Interesting. Part of me is neither. They are going to be sending out, and this had been previously told to us anyway, that depending upon the number by December 3rd, but apparently an additional 500 are going to be sent out this week. And they requested that the town council urge the residents who receive the letters to respond to the Public Health, because as soon as they can get the numbers, they'll start the survey and the blood testing. So we encourage you to respond so that they can start that survey. Get a golden ticket, that's right. Comments from the press or public? Seeing no rush. Recognition, resignations, and retirements. Recognition of retirement of town employee Kenneth Valancourt in recognition of his retirement after more than 14 years of full-time service to the town of Merrimack Highway Division of Public Works. Mr. Valancourt could not come this evening, but I'm going to read the plaque, and we'll make sure that he receives this in a ceremonial manner. Presented to Kenneth G. Valancourt upon the occasion of your retirement from the town of Merrimack Highway Division of the Public Works Department, in recognition of the loyal and dedicated full-time service which you have contributed for more than 14 years. Your dedication and devotion to duty has been a tremendous asset to the town of Merrimack. We wish to extend to you our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance of duty, November 24th, 2002 to December 2nd, 2016, presented by the Town Council and Town Manager this first day of December 2016. Congratulations, and enjoy your retirement, and stay healthy so you can enjoy it. Appointments, none. Public hearing, none. Let's move right along here. Legislative updates from state reps. I don't see any. Unless they're hiding. Town managers report.
Okay. This regards recycling. Did you know that it costs $100 more per ton to dispose of items through the trash stream than through the single-stream recycling? This holiday season, please help save money by bringing those cardboard boxes to the recycling center instead of throwing them in the trash. This is an update on...
Excuse me, Eileen. Break them down.
Yeah, break them down.
Break them down.
Yeah.
Because then we get more in the trailer. Don't have to make as many trips.
Okay. But bring them anyway.
Right,
If you hate
absolutely.
them, okay? Just bring them. So this is an update on a conceptual plan at 4 Executive Park Drive, which is the site of the former Merrimack Hotel, where the new extended stay hotel is going in. As you know, that building is coming down or has already come
Pretty much
down.
gone.
No, it's
Pretty much
Partially
gone.
Pretty much done.
Oh, partial.
But some conceptual plans for 2 possible developments, in addition to the extended stay, have been proposed for this site. The first proposal, again, these are just conceptual plans. Proposal 1 is for residential development to include 4 apartment buildings with 200 apartments, a total of 200 apartments. 3 buildings will have underground parking for a total of 120 cars, and the 5th building will contain a 3,500 square foot clubhouse. And the second proposal is for retail development as outlined below. A total of 76,240 square feet approximately of retail space in 5 separate buildings, and 1 building proposed as a restaurant of 1,840 square feet. Dog park update. The new dog park is just about complete and ready to open at this point. There are 2 last remaining steps for the park to be complete. The fence posts have been put into the ground already, and we're just waiting for the fence pieces themselves to be added to the posts. This work is expected to be completed during the December 5th to the 9th, assuming good weather. The other remaining task is the sponsorship sign, which we are working with an Eagle Scout candidate, Daniel Figueroa. Thank you. Who is building the sign for us. The park rules sign will be installed in the next couple of days, and so once the fencing is complete, we can open the park. We wanted to wait until the sponsor sign was installed before holding an official ribbon cutting. Also wanted to let you know of some things, the results of your deciding to upgrade and take care of the function hall building so that it can be used for people in the community. And just wanted to let you know that since September, it has been rented 137 hours. So, and there are already several inquiries for January and February 2017. So that's, it's good to know that that people really are enjoying that. And I asked Matt to give me some of his, he's going to be sending out his winter activities brochure tomorrow. And I wanted him to talk about some of the things that he is going to be offering, because as you know, he is always raring to do new programs. So there'll be parent and child free, not child free, but free parent and child monthly movies in partnership with the library, held in the function hall on weekday mornings. There'll be a family snowman building challenge, the winter carnival, the Easter egg hunt, the school week vacation programs, horseback riding through Walnut Hollow Farm, youth soccer programs, youth enrichment programs, including photography, painting, and drawing, bus trips to the Lion King and Foxwoods, Body Fitness. I don't want to pronounce that wrong. Barry? Okay. And yoga classes, wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, heart saver, CPR classes. So I think it's important for the community to know some of the things that are available for them and their families. Matt tries to hit every age group so that there's something available for anybody that would want to do it. The O'Gara Drive Skating Rink, we just purchased a new liner for the rink this year, and it will be delivered on December 5th. And the rink typically opens for the season in December or early January, depending on the weather. So I think that's about it. Thank you.
Great.
Any questions?
Will it be noted that Dan Dwyer has arrived? At 7:15, thank you. Snuck in. Okay, consent agenda. Proposed changes to Chapter 142, Parks and Recreation Area, submitted by Parks and Recreation Matt Kasparius. Town to consider the proposed changes to Chapter 142, Parks and Recreation Areas of the Town Code pursuant to Charter Article 5-4.
Madam Chairman, I move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Tom Mahan, second by Tom Koenig. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, so that would be 6-0-0. Okay, old business. Brenda Lane landlocked property sale follow-up discussion. Town council to consider the acceptance of a bid received for a town-owned landlocked parcel known as tax map parcel 6C/208-1 to a direct abutter of the property in accordance with RSA 49-D:3 and 47:5. Now, we had spoken about this previously. This was the only sealed bid that we received. Tom, you had requested additional information. Did that provide the information that you needed regarding the land?
Well, I had hoped to have the assessing card, but it's not here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Never mind.
It's assessed for $2,100.
No, not on the, I know what the parcel is. I'm talking about the main parcel from the provider, or the bidder. It's okay. Thank you.
Can we be told what the bid was? Okay.
Bid was $2,500.
Yes, Finley.
If somebody could tell me how this might normally work, could it be that the other abutters, I think there are 4 of them, 5 of them maybe total, is there a possibility that, you know, they, with us having a minimum bid of $550-$100, might that have precluded them from coming in at $3,000 or whatever? And I don't know how that might normally work, and that's my only consternation of holding on. You know, I think it just, I don't know how that works out, but how would...
When we
Paul?
sent out the letter, we did not mention that there was a minimum bid requirement,
Oh, okay.
and we mailed them all out to every parcel. That was their return receipt request.
Okay.
And, but we did not put a minimum bid purchase in. If they looked at the minutes, they could figure, or listened to the council, they could figure out there was a reserve on the property, but we did not mention that in our
In
letter.
the letter, okay.
That's settled for you?
That answers that
Okay.
question, yes.
Any other questions? Yes,
Yeah, well, I have a
Jackie?
comment that when there's not a competition, the prices, it does drive the price down, and I suspect that this is probably the maximum that this particular parcel's gonna bring.
I agree. Ready to vote? Somebody want to make a motion? We're missing Bill.
Well, let me, if I could ask a question.
Absolutely. Please
Paul,
do.
what did you put in the letter? I mean, did you mention the assessed value? Did you mention any value?
We sent out the card, we sent out the where the parcel was located, told them that the town is Merrimack. Yes, the tax card. The town of Merrimack is interested in selling this through sealed bid process. If you're interested, please provide your bid by a date and time. And we only received one inquiry and it was the
Actual
same
bid.
person who did the actual bid.
And was this the person that initially brought up an interest in the
Yes, it was.
All right, thank you. I move to accept the bid of $2,500 and sell the piece of property.
Motion made by Tom Koenig, seconded by
Second.
Dan Dwyer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it's 5-1-0. Tom Mahan opposed. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, which is fine, and no explanation
just
was necessary,
curious.
but I would have liked to, because I was kind of ambivalent, we came up with our number originally, our minimum, so it's too late now, but definitely next time, feel free to
What your
let me hear what your
reservation?
thoughts were.
I don't think it's an adequate price for the property, for the value it would bring to the landowner. And I think in this regard, we all stand here and talk about running this place like a business and taking $2,500 for that property when it could enhance the value of the other property by so much more. I'm not asking for an arm and a leg, okay, but something that's a little bit more meaningful as to the actual value it would bring to that property. And so I just did not feel comfortable voting for it.
Okay. Thank you. Eileen?
I personally, not that it's my really place to say, but I normally would say that whatever we have it assessed for, we really can't deny that that's what we think it's worth. So, it's assessed for
Now,
$2,100.
it had
and
previously been not really purchased, didn't go through, but we had this during the auction. And how much was it bid at the auction? It was 21, wasn't
51.
It was 51,
it? It was 51.
but you had a couple of people that were going against for the property.
It was
And those
51.
two people that were actually bidding against the property have since moved. So,
And also, as Jackie well knows, values change. One day, during a certain economy, it's worth something, and the next, you got to forget that price and go with whatever the value is now, so.
Okay. Yes, Dan?
And,
I wasn't going to say anything.
We should have had this
Yeah,
discussion
No,
before we
it's
voted,
just,
by the
I
way.
second the motion because it was one of those situations. I didn't like the price either, but as a businessman, a profit, whatever, I felt like, well, we're following the rules, we did the process, and
We did.
whoever wants it, that was it. Let the market bear what whoever really wanted it.
Right.
So it was a snapshot in time,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
held up my hand and said, all right, that's
Yeah.
fair is fair.
yeah.
But I didn't like the price, but oh well.
No, I'm a great believer in marketplace price being what somebody is willing to pay on what is considered an open market available to anybody. No such thing as under market.
But you're looking at a landlocked property that now has access, and I think that has value, and it's not reflected in that price.
It may change its assessment, though.
I understand that. And I will
We'll
look
be
forward to seeing the
receiving
abatement
taxes.
request.
All set?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to new business. Mitchell Woods / Watkins Forest easement deed, submitted by the Merrimack Village District Administrative Manager, Water Quality Testing, Jill. Everybody is here but Jill. The Town Council to consider the approval of the Mitchell Woods Watkins Forest easement deed and to authorize the town manager to sign. Well, who's going to be coming up, Lon or or the whole crew. Ron, his name better not be Don. I'll let you do the introductions.
Just let me thank the
Ron
council
Woods.
for the opportunity for presenting this proposal. It's simple. It's been an ongoing process for, I want to say, 2.5 years. But I will tell you, as chair of the MVD, we're here hopeful for a very positive action tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Ron Miner, and he's going to introduce the rest of the speakers if you want to hear from them. And I thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I have with me tonight Dan Tinkham.
I think you need to either talk into the mic or turn it, is it bright green?
It is. I can
Okay.
turn it on. With me tonight, Dan Tinkham from Emery and Garrett Groundwater. Michael Class, associate with Greg Michael. And we entertain any questions you may have about this.
Why don't you give a,
Yeah, they
Tell us
don't
what
know
it
anything
is.
about it.
yeah, give us a 30-word, we do have paperwork, but is it for the public and all the rest to help us understand?
I'm Dan Tinkham. Thank you, Ron. I'm Dan Tinkham with Emery and Garrett Groundwater. We're the groundwater consultant for the MVD. And several years ago, we conducted a groundwater exploration program on the Mitchell Woods property and tested a well out there. And it turned out, working with DES, we got a conditional approval back in 2013, I believe it was, to develop the public water supply well on that parcel. One of the conditions of that is that the MVD has to own outright or obtain a lease for the 400-foot sanitary protective area. It's a radius of 400 feet. And in the easement, we made it 420 in case we ever had to move the well a little bit. But so that's part of the DES's requirement for any public water supply well in the state of New Hampshire. And so we are put together the original lease, and it went back and forth from DES to the town to the trustees at the trust fund, back and forth several times. And at this point, everybody seems to be happy with it, we hope.
But you need town council approval for the manager to sign.
Yes.
Okay. So this is basically just giving you, oh, I'm the one who didn't it. Eileen, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that our attorneys approved it as well.
Okay. So it's really providing easement. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, questions, Jackie?
And the provisions of the easement forbidding, trucks with the diesel fuel and so forth on it, that would be ongoing, would it, to protect
Yes.
from then now on, yeah?
As long as the well serves as a public water supply well, those restrictions will have to be part of the agreement. Yeah.
Anyone else?
So, yeah,
Tom?
just for the sake of the public and me, because I need to be reminded, where is Watkins Forest and what's your intent? This is the first I recall hearing anything about this, and so I'm a little shocked by this whole thing.
Sure.
So maybe it's been 2.5 years, but
Yeah,
it's been about 2.5 minutes.
For you guys.
a little ways up Babusick Brook Road, Mitchell Court. I don't know if you're familiar with Mitchell Court, but walk it.
No.
Oh, okay. How can you describe it? You're a local.
So,
Yeah, Mitchell Wood, it's actually off of Mitchell Street. And then the Watkins Forest borders the Mitchell Woods.
It's out to Babusick Lake Road?
Near Ann Burroughs'
the
house.
Lisa-
Near who?
Mrs.
Marion
Burroughs.
Burroughs' house.
Oh, that doesn't tell me anything.
It's
It
from
It
that
doesn't tell
middle
the public anything either, I'm sorry.
It's
Bambi Trail.
what's the cross street?
It's the easiest way to describe is if you go to the traffic light at the middle school, take a right, continuing on Babusick Lake Road, before you come to that sharp, to the left curve at Mrs. Burroughs' home, it's across the street, basically.
Yes.
That's the development. Mitchell Street, Mitchell Woods, I believe, is to the,
It's a right-hand turn, yeah.
Mitchell's a right-hand
Yeah.
turn, and I think Mitchell Woods is to the left side. It's like a loop around. So
And
it's,
after Mitchell's
it's at that
Bean,
corner.
the next big,
Right.
the next
big road is Bean.
busiest street is Bean.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is out the Lake Road, and they,
Yeah, it's between
Northwest side.
Babusick Lake Road is on the west side, and the east side, Patton Road, and to the north is Bean Road. That kind of gives you the triangulation, I guess, yeah.
okay.
So there's a body of sand and gravel out there that was found as part of the groundwater exploration process. So test wells were put in, and this was all done with the approval of the Conservation Commission, who controls the land, and we worked with them pretty closely for a couple of years to come up with the final recommendation that we'd like to put a production well in. And then that brought in our communication with the Department of Environmental Services for their large groundwater withdrawal process. And so there was an extensive testing program, a number of monitoring wells put in. We monitored domestic wells in the area to make sure there was no off-site impacts. And all that was compiled into a large report and submitted to the DES. And back and forth a couple times with approval letters, we obtained the final approval for the well. And one of the biggest conditions, there we go. Because the town controls the parcels, the MVD needs to have an easement on both of those parcels to protect the sanitary protective area, which is it's just a zone right around the immediate source of the well that is protected from any land uses other than those involving the use of the well itself. And it's just a protection to make sure.
What piece of property up there does Merrimack own that you care
The
about?
largest one on the right.
The one with all the water body on it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks.
wetland designators.
Yes.
Yeah.
This parcel here
Uh-huh.
and this parcel just to the north is the Watkins Forest up here. So the well is approximately right here where the red dot is. So the 400-foot radius encompasses, an area somewhat like this. It crosses what is a beautiful stone wall right up here into the forest. So that's why the easement is required on both of those parcels.
And how do you access that?
Through Mitchell Street, right? This corridor right there.
Is that a road today?
It's an old logging road. There's a log landing just behind this property here that's been used in the past for a log landing area, and access is through a very decrepit old gate right there, off Mitchell Street.
You going to upgrade that, or?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So it is a locked gate? It's not an open place for people to go wandering back?
Right. Oh, quite a few people use it for
It's a trail.
Yeah, it's a walking trail. So it's a beautiful area. It really is a beautiful asset.
What impact does your well have on that, as far as the walking area is concerned?
The access road to the well, which will go up this narrow corridor here, it'll be maintained as a year-round access to the well, which will be about here. And then there'll be a small pump station building also for any kind of treatment that might be required and the actual pumping system. So MVD will have access on it'll be just a dirt road, I assume, and a small building back in there all the time. But people will be able to walk up and down there, no problem. There's no problem with public access for walking and kind of non-motorized vehicle entertainment of any kind within this sanitary protective area. We would definitely say, it shouldn't be snowmobiles, shouldn't be ATVs. There aren't any way out in this particular area. But
Do you have to fence it or control access to that 400-foot area, or?
no, the actual well will probably have a fence around it. That's to be decided. And the building may have a security perimeter fence around it also. But the actual 400-foot radius, probably not. It might be marked in some way, just to provide the public information that they're walking in this area.
And I don't mean to be a jerk, but I feel like I'm being that way. What are you going to do with the water when you get it out of the ground? You need to put in a pipe, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Where does that go?
Right now, the plan is to go the same way underneath that road. There's an existing, I believe, 8-inch main out here on Mitchell Street. So the water would be piped down the road, probably right down the center line of the road, out and tied into the existing main right here. And then it would serve the Merrimack Village District. Yeah.
And other utilities would come in the same way, power and stuff, so.
Yeah.
And that's going to somehow feed back into the tank you've got so that it all gets mixed and all that stuff? I mean, we've heard a lot about your mixing of well water and things of that nature, but if you're pumping it straight into the main,
Well, no.
does it treat the same way as all the other wells?
There'll be a treatment facility right there. So it'll be treated on site before it goes out.
And it just mixes it in the main itself as opposed to in the tank and
Yeah.
then being distributed that way?
Yeah.
And you're not a jerk. Well, I don't understand anything about this, and it doesn't seem like there's any information coming out, so I just wanted people to understand what we're looking in, because it's obviously going to be a construction project. It's going to impact the people in that area. Not to say that it's not important and critical for Merrimack to have water supplies, and I want you to help me understand that and help educate the public how important that is as well. That's why I'm trying to give you as much rope as possible to sell this, because I can't sell it. I don't know anything about it.
Do you want to talk more?
I mean, that
No,
was
I
the-
think it's legitimate, Tom. I think your questions are legitimate, because all of a sudden, these people are going to be seeing this activity.
Yeah.
And they should know
Yeah.
that, that's all.
Yeah, it'll be on the order of a number of months, I would assume, by the time the well structure is in and the utilities are brought in. Pipeline and engineering firm it'll go out to bid, and they'll put a bid on the work. And so something like this generally would take on the order of several months to be fully completed. When it's done, there should be very minimal impact. I mean, it should be a nice corridor to walk down. And beyond the well, it'll just continue as the same hiking trails that are there now.
Just out of curiosity, it's just as a policy kind of thing, does the MVD notify, like those neighbors, by the way this is happening?
We will.
Just
yeah.
out of curiosity.
We do, yes.
Okay. Instead of having big trucks show up all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, yeah, we will. yeah.
Jackie?
Well, I was curious, if the well's going to be treated right there, how much room does that take up? And what's that comprised of?
Depending on whether we use lime or caustic for corrosion control, the chlorine can be injected right in the station itself. So we can keep that building small with using like a caustic with like a day pump that would take place right in the station itself. So it could be a smaller station with just 55-gallon drums. This is going to be a high demand use well, meaning that it's only 300 gallons a minute. It's going to be probably run for 3 months out of the year, then shut down, and only when those demands get really up there that we'll start using it. Or an emergency, if something would come up that we needed it, we could turn it on.
Eileen?
I think she wants to know what it looks like. How big is it? What's the footprint?
Like garden shed, the size of this room?
Oh, not
15
this
by
big.
20?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe 15 by 20 feet,
Yeah.
something on that order.
Sizable, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like a one-bay garage, I guess, something like
Yeah.
that size, yeah.
Yeah.
Tom?
It's the size of my porch.
Tom's porch,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Back- What we call our sun porch, the back room, but it's 18 by
Oh, yeah.
18, so
Yeah,
it's pretty close to that.
yeah.
What's that?
Back in the 1800s, your porch.
No, that porch wasn't there in the 1800s.
Oh, okay. It was added on.
How do you know?
It wasn't, I can assure you it wasn't there.
You have a question, I believe.
No.
Or
What I was going to
comment.
say is, what I was going to say is that we've had some discussion at the Conservation Commission meetings about this project, and they came to us, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I guess, to get some clarification or some other things. But anyway, the concern over people walking in and out of there, I will urge the Conservation Commission to do something about putting up the usual kinds of signage that they put up there about this being the status of what it is. So, that people should be extra careful going in there because this is now a public water supply. And leave it up to the Conservation Commission to decide how they're going to proceed on that and what kind of warning that they may issue. Okay, so, and then, again, they do logging operations back there on a routine basis. I don't know how many years they do them, but they're used for various and sundry bequests from the Watkins prize, the Watkins family. The one I know most about is the Watkins speech contest at the middle school, which my daughter swept for 3 years.
By the way.
I can see why.
Dan?
What was the cost of the project?
Oh, boy.
Still to be determined?
Yeah.
Talking about the development of a protection well, Dan?
Yeah, an estimate as far as, from the dozers get in there, you start doing, you drill, an estimated cost of putting in
Oh, for the future work?
Yeah.
Not the work, okay.
For-
to-
to when it's ready to be pumped, Lon, at what point did you say the cost to put this well in was X?
I would tell you that an estimate
You're good enough.
No,
would most likely be $2 to $2.5 million.
In under a year to complete, when they start?
Oh, yeah.
I would say that's.
You shut it off.
You turn
Yeah.
it back off, you need to just leave it on.
that. I would say that's reasonable, Dan. As you have discovered tonight, the time-consuming part of these, of bringing a production well to fruition is exactly what we're going through tonight. We've been with Concon, we've been with, I believe, the planning board?
No.
Perhaps not the planning board.
Trustees of the trust
Concon.
fund.
My apologies. The trustees of the trust funds had some concerns about timber harvesting. And it's had all the, it's had those discussions at those venues.
Can I interrupt you, Lon? Can you tell us why, because I heard that, but why does the trustee of the trust funds have a role in this anyway?
Paul might have that answer.
Okay.
Revenue for the town.
Because the property was deeded to the trustee of the trust funds, and the sale of the timber actually goes to the school. So as stewards of the property, which they gave that to help with the Conservation Commission, but they have to be able to harvest the timber because, as Tom said, the speech contest and things of that sort, the proceeds from the sales of the timbers goes to help offset school. So that's why they are involved with this. It's actually the trustee of trust funds property through the will of the previous owners.
And we have an attorney who wants to say something.
Mike wants to take over.
That was one of the questions that Greg and Town Council had talked about, because it is a little atypical to have the trustees and the manager sign this deed. So that issue was vetted, and I believe that that's consistent with what, the explanation that I heard is consistent with why there's two sort of signatories on behalf of the town.
Okay.
Yeah, anything gets deeded to the town,
I got nothing.
for those purposes, it gets turned over to the trustees of the trust fund.
But this is a unique situation
No,
involving them, I mean.
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
no, they've got a bunch of properties and a bunch of responsibilities
Okay.
regarding the management of the money. And it's all dictated, a lot of it is dictated by statute. So, in fact, 25 or so years ago, we had quite a battle with the MVD about turning their capital reserve funds over to the trustees of the trust fund.
Are you stirring up the pot there?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that there's,
From past conflicts here?
no, it wasn't a conflict. We just told them do it.
It was a discussion at the
lively
time. The administration of the MVD was a bit reluctant, and it took a while to resolve, but Tom's absolutely correct. Dan, I hope I've answered your question correctly. I was starting to say about permitting. First, the discussion with the town and making sure that we dotted all those I's and crossed all those T's. DES demands some of that action. They'll be looking for, like I expressed earlier this evening, a positive result from the town council on our seeking and you people granting us this easement. Then the fun begins with making sure we bring the well in according to DES's regulations, our specs, and that process is somewhere around a year after all the permitting is complete.
In your budget, when you say, do you have a budget, or does a project like this can take a life of its own if for instance, your first drill doesn't hit water, or a variety of factors? You say 1.5 to 2 million, but in reality, when you do this kind of work, could it be double? Because of circumstances.
In my experience with the district, at each production well, we've gone for bonding over a period of years.
Yep. And for people at home, kind of like water's on a hot topic in town, obviously, people may want to know, like, how many wells we're currently having, and is this an emergency response to the PFOA issue, or has this well been under plan for several years, et cetera? Just to kind of let people know, why are you here to put in a new well? Well, some people obviously are going to say, why are they putting in a well all of a sudden?
It's not all of a sudden, and that's a very legitimate question. We have an ongoing program for continuing to capture adequate supplies of water for the MVD and distribution to the town of Merrimack and its ratepayers. It is not a knee-jerk reaction. It is not. It did not. It was on the books long before the current
Situation.
issues or interest in PFOA and PFOS. It is, again, the commissioner's goal to continue to find water supply for the town of Merrimack. As Ron mentioned, it is not the optimum in terms of developing, but it is one that we firmly support in terms of those times of year, that time of year, say July and August of a normal year, if they come back, it would really be in the best interest of the ratepayers and the MVD to have this well, because it allows us to, again, provide adequate supply and manage the infrastructure. I know in other times before the council, I've perhaps educated you a little bit about the fact that your pump at home doesn't, those of people who run pumps, they don't run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In times of high demand, some of our pumps, we demand that of them. We don't like to do that. We like to what we call rest them. And so this is, again, a supply that will allow that to happen in our peak season for the whole of the infrastructure.
Thanks, Lauren.
Jackie?
Just wanted one comment. Oh, I just wanted to comment that it seems like a good spot right there, protected and way by itself.
Tom?
Does this tap into an additional aquifer, or is it just another spot in the general aquifer under Merrimack that we're
No,
tapping into?
this is an entirely different aquifer from the other well sources in town right now.
Okay.
It's a fairly small aquifer, and that's why it's limited in its yield potential. It's really it's kind of cut off in most directions. It's a fairly small as aquifers go, I'd say. Very well protected though, from a hydrologic standpoint. The fact that there's a conservation area or two of them right there is very positive, because it does restrict any potential land uses, which are always a threat to groundwater supplies, particularly.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How many gallons? 300 gallons per what, did you say?
300 gallons a minute.
Yeah, the permit will be capped at 45 million gallons per year. That's our analysis determined we could pull that out safely, and the DES agreed with that, and there'll be long-term monitoring to prove that can happen. So 300 gallons a minute for about 90 days.
Jackie?
I'm sorry to belabor this. Do you already have some idea that it's going to be 300?
Yes, this has been tested. There is a production well out there. We went through the entire large groundwater, which are all processed, which includes surface water monitoring, wetlands monitoring, monitoring of domestic wells in the area. So that was done in a 7-day pumping test. So this well was pumped at 300 gallons a minute for 7 continuous days, monitored all the wells we could find in the area.
And how deep does that have to go?
The well itself is about 50 feet deep, the aquifer.
Wow.
It's
That's
not too
very
deep.
deep now.
It's a sand and gravel aquifer, unconsolidated deposits on top of bedrock, and most of the area is served by public water. So it's
Well,
very
what
few
is the
wells.
bond for? You mentioned a bond, and I thought it was having to do with striking water.
The longevity would be for actually constructing the well.
Oh, sure. Okay, just the money part. Okay. Very good.
And the pump station and the utilities. Yeah. Yeah, so the unknowns, which is the groundwater exploration end, is all set. We understand the aquifer. We have a pretty good assessment of what it will do, and we have the permit, based on our knowledge of the aquifer. Now it's a question of, putting a pump in there and pulling out the straw and getting it into the system so people can drink it. Yeah.
We all set? Okay, I entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move the council approve the Mitchell Woods Watkins Forest easement deed and authorize the town manager to sign on behalf of the town.
Motion made by Tom Mahan, second by? Dan Dwyer. Eileen, did you want to modify?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, or my proxy.
He's not here.
Remind me never to be absent.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, 600. While I have you here, Lon, before you leave, one quick question. You should know that you're here, we're going to take advantage of it. The connection with Pennachuck, is that all done now?
No,
No.
but it is well on its way. Construction crews are preparing the pad, installing the valves. We were told at our last commissioners meeting to expect delivery of the actual station itself. Third week in December.
That's what it was, yeah.
What a nice Christmas present.
So, do you think it'll be installed by the end of the year or early next year?
Yes,
Okay.
we've been assured of that.
Second question. Anything on the Wells 4 and 5 filtration system
I'll leave that to Ron.
with St. Cobain discussions?
The agreement has been signed, so we have that. We actually get the check for the.
And the agreement is what?
For the 30% design work.
Okay.
We did receive a check, the $65,800 for that portion of it. St. Cobain, their engineers, Barr and CT Mail have done their testing, additional testing they wanted to do on wells 4 and 5.
So that's done, the testing's done?
Most of it. There's a couple monitoring wells I guess they want to do that it's not on the district property at all. I guess it's going to be out on the Center Street area for soil sampling. I think that's going to be, the earliest is January. They can get a well rig out there to do that. And then I knew today, I got an email that I'm going to bring it up to the board at our next meeting. They are ready to ship the treatment plant
From Husick?
from Hoosick, and they just want to make sure that we want it, and they
Nice.
got to make arrangements to get it here
Nice.
with probably before the next month or two.
So they're all done with it there, they're ready to be able to ship it. Now, obviously, does the site have to be prepared for its installation? Like, I know you had to develop a pad for the other one. Do you have to do a similar kind of configuration?
There's probably going to be something that will have to be done. I don't know where it would be placed yet or
Right,
anything like
okay.
that, so
But there'll be something.
I'm sure, yeah.
But it's nice to know it's on its way, or will be.
Yep.
Nice. Any other questions while they're here? Take advantage of it. I did. Seeing none. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, 2017 and 2023 CIP presentation by Eileen Carbonell, Town Manager, and Finance Director Paul McCauley, presented the details of the CIP. And this is the PowerPoint. Now, it's my understanding that there are no decisions here. This is purely a presentation by you
Yes,
so that we have an appreciation of what's coming down the road.
yes.
Okay.
We
Did
are,
you, ladies and gentlemen, hear me say? I feel like a school teacher. Did you hear me? This is purely a presentation. There are no decisions. Okay.
I thought you said something else that I missed.
It's not just you, did.
and as Nancy just said, it's basically, you'll be hearing all of these things during the budget as well. So you can choose to get into this in great detail at this point and during the budget, or in whatever way that you want to. So I'll take my cue from you as to how detailed you want to be. So When I first got here, we were going through and everyone in the state was going through some budget cuts. The state had placed 100% of the retirement costs for the police and fire on everybody, and they stopped they started taking away various kinds of state aid and that kind of thing. Downshifting is what they called it. And so I wanted, and you concurred, that we need to have a place in the budget always for an adequate amount of money that we're saving, so that those funds don't end up getting depleted, and that it always seems like a very easy place to cut. Oh, you want $400,000? Let's take it out of road infrastructure. Well, we wanted to make sure that this in particular had its own place within the budget. So at that time, we were being optimistic and recommended, if you look at the total property tax financing under the first line, was $1,060,000 back in 2011. We wanted to make sure that each of those categories had some money placed into it. So in this year's budget, we have proposed placing $1,702,000 into the capital reserve funds. What's, as you know, it's been increasing for various reasons. A lot of it has to do with the bridge funding that we've been doing, significant amounts of bridge projects, which, as we know, we pay only 20% of, and we need to get those while the getting's good. But anyway, there's some unusual things in here that you won't see every year, such as if you look under communications equipment, which is the third line, $185,000. That is a result of the police and fire, communications consoles and that kind of thing, right? All the software and everything that we've been saving up for that big expense. And then you see fire equipment's going up. Highway equipment costs are going up. That was 5 years ago. Road infrastructure, capital reserve fund, we've tried to keep that up, especially with as I said, with the bridges, and that's not the only thing that you spend it on. You also spend it on reconstruction of roads and drainage, right? So it's not an unusually large amount, but I just wanted to show you that every year that when we look at this, we always say to ourselves, are we at least maintaining $1 million going into these funds so that we can keep these going forward? And the answer is yes, this year. So this is a terrible picture. This, I don't even think I can read it from here, and I don't need glasses for distance. But anyway, what this shows is the proposed funding for, can you make that bigger? The proposed funding for the various projects. Oh, there you go. Okay. So what this is the deposits, which is what you just saw, the $1,702,000, which is at the cross point. So where's the? I'm not the mechanical person. So this is historical funding, and this is projected funding. And we used to like to show this because this number down here used to be in the $300,000 range, but now that's back here somewhere. So anyway, here is where we are right here, which is that amount of money that we talked about, $1,702,000, and then we go forward at approximately the same, except we start jumping up a little bit as far as our deposits are concerned. So what, this is what happens. The department heads come in and they submit their requests every year for capital projects, and they have to project them out for a certain number of years. You have the major projects, which are things like road improvements, like expensive highway equipment, solid waste disposal, that's mostly equipment and that kind of thing, reval, all those things that you're saving for. And they submit their major projects that they want to do over the next 6 years. And so as a result of that, and they put in the pricing when they'd like to see it being done. And so as a result of that, what Paul does is he takes those items and he puts in an amount of money into each of those accounts so that those we will have enough money to do those projects that they've asked for, if we concur. So that's where those numbers come from. So the reason, you know, this particular one is for the major projects, right?
This is for both, what
For both,
we
okay.
consider major
and minor. Okay. So minor would be vehicles and, you know, mostly vehicles and that kind of thing. Sorry.
Can I interrupt for some more really easy clarity? Number two, for just me, but also people at home who may be listening to budget numbers. Last year, how much did we spend when we did this?
We didn't, it's not, oh, yeah. Okay, he actually did a sheet.
Spend by
that-
meaning
that
putting
we
it
did.
into the funds.
We put 1,602,000, and this year we put 1,702,000.
So we've increased it by
By
$100,000.
$100,000.
And then in 2014, 2015, how much did we put in?
We put in 1,431,000. And the year before, 1,052,000. And the year before, 974 and 937, going back 2 years before that, it was only
I
$300,000.
wanted people to have a perspective of where we've come from and where we are now, and what you're proposing to spend next year is a little over $100,000 from the year before.
Yeah, and
Thanks.
I always consider this to be a very good thing because it's saving for these projects. I always say this, but I've in all my years in working for municipalities, I've never seen a community that does such an excellent job at capital reserve funding. And that's one of the reasons why we don't have debt, or have very little debt, is because instead of, like some communities, we're going to do a bond for $4 million every year, and then we're going to, spend it and do all those kinds of things. That's not what we do here. What we do here is we set up very specific capital reserve funds that can only be used for certain things that have been voted for by the public, and we deposit money in there so that by the time, and I like to give this example, let's say you have a $300,000 ambulance. I don't know if that's what they cost. $400,000 pumper truck at the fire department. You would save maybe $100,000 all of 4 years, because 4 years out you're going to need to purchase it. So we purchase it with cash out of these funds or savings. Don't like to call them savings accounts, but they basically are that way. Yeah, but it's very, very good planning and very well done. Yeah.
So you don't get hit all at one time.
But
Sorry, Jackie.
no, that's okay. And just as a point of clarification, the pumper truck has to be in the CRF.
That's right. That's correct.
CIP.
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
So you're trying to project in the future so many years, so that determines how much you have to save from year to year.
Yes, in each category.
Again, for public. Yeah.
Yeah.
for public understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
there's mine.
So here it is again, showing last year to this year, with $100,000, Dan, as you had asked. Oh, isn't this lovely? Okay.
Before you go on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you look back at that last page that you were on, you started out by saying we wanted to make sure we put at least $1 million in. And if you look at the last couple of years, we've been putting $1.5 million. And now you're talking about going to $1.75 million. And as we go out 3 or 4 years, you're talking about being close to $2 million a year. So our projection back then was just to keep us even, and this thing is ramping upwards. Do we have any control on that, or is it just out of control?
No, you absolutely have control, but really the point...
I know I do, but I mean, do the
point-
people in departments and whatnot understand that the town doesn't have 50% increases or 100% increases in funding?
Oh, absolutely,
Ad infinitum.
absolutely. Each capital project request receives scrutiny. So, and it can be approved or denied. And I guess what I would say to you is that these funds were so depleted for such a period of time that we did the best we could to build them up. So the $1 million was only just barely putting in something, because what we were doing basically was we were putting in an amount and we were taking out more. And that kept happening, and that's why it appears that that we're ramping this up, but we're really just catching up.
Okay.
No?
Well,
Is there-
it all depends on how you look at it. I mean, for a long time, we were told communication equipment only needed $10,000 a year. Now, for the last couple of years, we've been putting $150,000 to $200,000 a year. We're going to keep doing that for a couple of years before it drops back to 70. Why don't we smooth this out a little bit so that our numbers don't ramp up so fast, and do 90 in the out years, and a little bit less this year or something like that? Is it really critical that we spend $500,000 in this 3 or 4 year period? Or more.
Well, this was actually something that has been discussed for the past couple of years, and it relates to the police department and
I
the
understand.
communications equipment. And I think a couple of years ago, you were very surprised that all of a sudden it came up, and I was too.
I'm constantly surprised
Yeah,
by the
I was
expense,
surprised.
considering technology's advancement and the prices of technology coming down, that we're paying so much more for equipment that I thought we didn't need 8 years ago.
Right.
And now I guess we do need it. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah, if Tom remembers, we've had the Public Works Director on more than one occasion telling us when he was asked directly that, the $1 million was just barely letting us hold on, and that by their own assessments and using the roadway, their pavement management thing, we should be spending nearer to $2 million a year in order to completely maintain the infrastructure in the town. So, yeah, at some point, there's a point where if you drive Amherst Road as many times as I do, and you look at it, and I'm saying, this isn't going to last the winter. There's so much guttering in there, and there's so many cracks in the pavement, deep cracks in the middle of the pavement, that ice and snow are just going to play havoc with it this winter. So, and that's one of the ones we built with the, let's see, that would have been in 84, 85, somewhere back in there, was when they completely rebuilt that road with that initial bond for the roadway pavement management plan.
And I agree, and we have a huge amount in our budget, not in the capital reserve funds, for road maintenance.
Yeah.
700,000 or more, closer to $1 million, that we keep trying to get to. 750, okay. So, I mean, that's a piece of that 2 million or whatever that we think we need to be at. Anyway, thank you.
Dan?
As a quick comment, because I think Eileen would agree, this was also a comment session. This was to put it out there and to say what we're going to be doing three months from now.
Right.
But my philosophy is I don't want to brag too much about not having any debt, because I don't have the philosophy of not bonding at all. So there's a middle ground for me where Tom is talking about ratcheting things up. And one of these years, maybe it's this year, that we will go and get a small bond for whatever particular project, if it's road improvements. But I don't look at being totally this debt-free concept as being the best way to go either. It's nice that we are so healthy that way, but for me, it leaves an opportunity to maybe do more through a bond.
Yes, Eileen?
And I completely agree with that, but it's usually good policy is to do a bond for a period of time where the project's useful life is. So if you did bonds for roads, as some communities do, you do a road for 10 years. Is the road going to last for 10 years? I don't know.
You hope
So, oh, is it going to last for 20? Some people try and do them for 30. So, it's just, most of the road things that we've been doing relate specifically to our match for the bridge projects.
Okay.
Again, this is very, very difficult. I just, no idea it was going to be this bad.
I'm going to have a hard time, and it's right in front of my
Okay.
face
So,
with my glasses.
yeah, we'll just do the 1 year one. Okay. So these are the major projects. As I said, we have major projects and we have minor projects. This includes various capital projects that are funded in a whole bunch of different ways. One are the capital reserve funds that we just talked about, which are a savings account. Two are in the operating budget, which, as you know, is coming before you as a specific amount of money that Tom was just talking about for road repair, for instance. And some of it is being proposed from bond, some of it is federal funding for bridges primarily, and state is, in this case, has to do with the bridge replacement at US 3 DW Highway. So what I want to tell you about this is I'm just going to do the 2 years. So in 2016, 2017, we have the project for Bedford Road, Babuzik Brook Bridge, and 17,
17, 18 is the budget year, 16, 17 is the year right now.
Okay,
So
sorry.
18.
This year, we're doing the architectural and engineering work, as you can see, in 2016, 2017. And 2017, 2018, which is the budget year that we're talking about, we will be doing the construction costs for the Bedford Road Bridge, which comes to $611,000 from that road infrastructure capital reserve fund. We'll have cash to pay for that. Federal funding, the combination of federal and state funding on this one comes to 80% of the costs. The second one is bridge replacement for US 3 over Babuzik Brook. Even though that is planned to be done in the 2023 time period, or 20, can't keep track of these now, 22, 23. We have been working on the engineering on this particular project so that we're ready in case somebody drops out of the bridge program or something like that. So the state has been gracious enough, even though they have not set aside money for us for the project itself, but they are currently paying their 80% of the architectural and engineering for this. The next one is stormwater drainage improvements, and you can see that in your, there's a list of the roads that they're planning to do for the stormwater drainage improvements, which are Joe Ellen Drive, Amherst Road, Brenda Lane, Wilson Road, Box Culvert, and Woodland Drive Phase 2 drainage design and town-wide basin repairs. So that's what's planned to be spent on that. The next one is infrastructure improvements. As you know, that comes from the registration fee that gets added onto people's car registrations. We receive approximately $125,000 a year, and that needs to be dedicated to road improvements. So, and then out of the budget itself, another $625,000 for infrastructure improvements as well. If you can look in your pages for the details of that, there are dozens and dozens of roads that have been done. We've listed them out here for you from 2012 to 2016, all the roads that have been done, repaved. Is there a page number on that? Do you have that, Finley?
Do they have a projected list of future ones? Do you know?
Do you have that, Kyle?
The 100-year.
He won't ever give them to me. I always ask him for them, but he won't give them to me because
I mean, it exists, so.
what happens is
I know it has
if
to do
we-
with the conditions.
If we,
and that
yeah,
stuff.
but if we don't have enough money to, or we decide that we're going to do a lesser amount or
Right.
that kind of thing, or the bids come in higher, then people
Right.
have expectations that their
Right.
road's going to be
Gotcha.
done, and so he's very reluctant to give the.
I'm not
although
even
he's
asking
better
you
than
what
Rick-
it is, but
He's
you
better
do
than
have-
Rick Seymour was,
You
but
do have such a thing.
as far as that goes, right, Kyle?
And I know it has, the determination of where priority has to do with, and we had a whole presentation one evening, the different categories or criteria of the road and how it's severe versus, yeah.
Right, that's exactly right.
I was listening, Kyle.
Through our intern program, we rate all of our roads every couple of years, and we get what's called the pavement condition index
Right.
for each road, and that's a scale of 0 to 100. So that list we do maintain, and we keep it up to date. We don't use that list solely as a dictator of what roads we're going to pave. We also look at what drainage projects are coming
Right.
forward, what MPD
Combination.
projects might come forward, sewer projects and the like, and the amount of funding that we get each year from you folks. Right, exactly. And so we're hesitant to publish a list because
yeah.
if
I'm
we
not asking
tell
you
somebody
to.
their road's going to get paved and then it doesn't, because over the winter, one road fares far worse than another, and it has to leapfrog, then we've got some egg on our face, but.
I can, is it, and I'm not asking you to do this, but could you find out where your road is on the list?
Absolutely, we get
I mean,
those
no
calls.
time frame,
Yeah,
anything.
we get those calls fairly frequently.
Okay.
And what I generally tell people is, by PCI, you're number 40 on the list, and we do about
Gotcha.
10 roads a year, so it's
Gotcha.
likely you're in the next 4 or 5 years.
Gotcha.
So from that standpoint, I can give you an answer fairly
Okay.
quickly. To give you a definitive answer,
I understand.
we put it out to bid each late winter, early spring, and that's the definitive list when it's developed.
Gotcha. Thank you, Kyle. Jackie?
Yeah, we have a pothole that has a name. It's called Shore Drive.
I heard that joke 2 weeks ago.
My husband, yeah.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
It's better
So-
to be characterized as a third world country like the former moderator used to do.
Did he? Yeah.
Okay, so number 9, if you look down your left-hand column there, is paving infrastructure improvements on Executive Park Drive. I had a question about that. Has that been something that's been on the shopping block for a long time? And yes, it has. something that needs to be done. It's quite a fairly extensive project with, there's a island in the middle of it, and there's issues with the drainage on the sides and all kinds of things. And if you would like to have more explanation from Kyle, I'm sure he'd be happy to give you that one.
How does that interface with the project that's going on at Executive Park Drive?
We will interface with them and they will interface with us, but it's not being done for that reason. The project is not being done because of this. I asked that
understand.
question as well.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan.
And as just one counselor's voice, I hate that project. I think to complain that the islands in the middle are ugly and runoff is going to Natticook Brook as well as Horseshoe Pond, I just don't see it. I've been living here for 20 years. I've been on that street so many times I can't count. So I'm seeing someone seeing demons there that I don't see. I would rather not spend all that kind of money on a road that is completely functional, only has the movie theater, the new hotel right at the entrance. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see the bang for the buck on doing something with that. There's so many more areas I would rather spend money on roads than touch one pebble on that road. Just wanted to put that up, one man's opinion.
So that might be worth a discussion in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a public road?
Yeah.
It is a public road, yep.
Yeah.
It's less than drop in the bucket compared to what
Okay.
Okay, number 10 is a proposal for for the highway garage.
Right.
Renovations and replacement. Again, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that any of the proposals that we have ever seen for the highway garage have not been to demolish the highway garage, but basically to gut it and use it for storage of our expensive indoor, equipment and vehicles and that kind of thing, and to put in a public works structure, keeping in mind that when this was built, the number of roads I can't imagine how many
When was it?
miles.
Do we know when it was built?
1963, 73.
Wow.
But the population has quadrupled since then, and, and
93 grandchildren now.
I moved in. Boy, that was a long time.
yeah. And you've been in there, and you know what it looks like, and you know the conditions that the employees work
We have to have
work
a
in.
future discussion very soon about that.
Right, yes. We'll have a proposal coming before you for some various options on how to go about that.
Yes, Dan.
I specifically want to be on the record for saying that that building is a disgrace. If it wasn't for OSHA not being able to come in and close the structure down because your municipalities get off the hook, it does not have adequate restrooms, bathrooms, locker rooms.
Safety.
It's
things.
safety issues. It's really a disgrace. So I want to make sure I'm on the record again, because I'll say it every year. Despite the voters don't want it, I totally accept that. But something has to be done. If it's going to be trailers, I've been advocating a trailer when we go to our workshop.
Yeah.
Men and women shouldn't have to go to work under those conditions, but they do every day, and thank you for doing it. But we should be looking out for more, better and safer area to work at the highway garage. It's a
And that has to
disgrace.
be- And that has to be part of the discussion after the presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Nancy?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and I'd like to piggyback on Dan's, because I think this is the time for me to start saying, it's right in the middle of a residential area, and maybe that was okay when it was done, but I would want it to have some sense of aesthetics
And
outside.
And just not to get
Not
into any
necessarily,
great
no.
detail or anything, but another one of the reasons why now might be a really good time is because when the first payment comes due will be the year after one of the bonds ends, which is a $270,000 a year bond. So that goes away, and there leaves a place for a worthwhile, which is definitely worthwhile, bond
Horse Hill, right?
project. The next one is the Merrimack River Boat Ramp access improvement, formerly Griffin Street boat ramp. We put in a number in here because Kyle has, at our retreat, had given you some different options, and we've also given you his memo again to talk about possibly not using the Griffin Street boat ramp as being the one that we spend the money on, but being another one at a different location, such as near the wastewater treatment plant. Mass Road. So we'll be getting into that a little bit, obviously more with you as this progresses. The next one, the Sauhegan River Trail project, obviously that was the TAP grant the TAP grant, Transportation Alternative Program grant that we received, which is an 80% grant to work on the Sauhegan River Trail. Then the next one is another. It's engineering work for another TAP grant that we have applied for. So there's actually two of them. One is Daniel Webster and Woodbury sidewalks, and then there's another one in the outer years that we have applied for, but it takes a while to get the money. So the $21,000 that you see there is for the town's portion. As you can see, it's recommended that it come out of the infrastructure capital reserve fund, and federal funding is, we're hopeful that we get it. So those two items are for engineering. Okay.
If
Go
I
right
might
ahead.
just go back up to the Severance Bridge canoe launch ramp access improvement. Where is that? I don't remember seeing that here before, and it probably was, I just,
Where are you at?
That is,
number,
Major project sheet, not on this
yeah,
Oh.
that is a,
oh, I'm looking at the other.
right, that's a new project. If you go to Severance Bridge, if you take the left to go up Severance Bridge Road at the end, if you go straight, you go into Amherst by the golf course, if you take the left, right there on the right, that was a launch.
Okay,
The slope is deteriorating. It's very treacherous with cars parked there. There's a piece of property that the Conservation Commission's looking on the other side of the road in one of their parcels to expand into kind of a park area, and this would be part of that, is move that canoe launch on that side of Severance Bridge Road to the other side of the road and be part of the Conservation Commission park that they were
No, that'd
looking
be
at
wonderful.
doing. So
And
it's a combined project. It's actually be safer because cars won't be pulling off to the right as soon as you take the turn to go down to put their canoes in the water.
it was never maintained as a
clarify-
launch before, it was just
Hold on.
there, wasn't it?
People used it, right?
Yes.
Tom, then Dan, then Jackie.
Yeah, if you go to the Conservation Commission minutes or the video from a couple meetings ago, there was an extensive discussion on this project. And it was done in the context of potential property acquisition in the area and then the development of one of the pieces that we already own. And the town already owns, or the Conservation Commission manages. But they were talking about moving it because of the difficulty and deterioration and the erosion that goes on, it's going on in the current site, and how it's becoming extremely unsuitable for that, and so they want to move it.
But to clarify, Tom, it's because one of the reasons is there currently isn't any really real parking.
No,
And part of
that's
the whole
right.
project is actually to create a small parking lot.
Right.
So it makes more sense to
So the
actually.
discussion was, do they
Yeah.
do it where the current ramp is now, or do they do it on the other side of the road? In other words, come in, drop on one side, park on the other, okay? And that's where the discussion was. They've got to look at a couple of things in one of the deeds, I think, to make sure that they're okay in doing that. And my read of it was okay, but I'm not a lawyer, so, and when they talk about plain English thing, it never is.
All set? Jackie?
Oh, I think you answered the question, but I was wondering, are they talking about across Severance Bridge Road or across the river?
Across the road.
Across the road, okay. Merrimack does own a strip across the
Right.
Well,
river.
here's Kyle. He's going to clarify.
The conservation parcel that we're working with Conscom to potentially put it on is what's known as the Ireland property. It's the property across the street from that big white house as you go up Amherst Road. If you go up Amherst Road, Severance Bridge Road is on your right. If you go up the hill on Amherst Road a little way, you've got that big, beautiful white house on
Yeah.
the right. It's the property to the left, before you get to Tamazian Drive.
Oh, with all the garages?
The house is all
Belongs
the
to the
garage.
big White House?
There used to be a barn there.
Yeah, well, a big barn, okay, a barn, okay. I interpret it as, okay, yeah, well, I know where that is, I guess. I'll have to ride by it. You can't see the river from right there, though.
Correct.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the river's a fair amount
But that property
deep
goes all
from
the way
the,
down to the.
yeah, it goes
Okay.
down a fair ways before you get to the river.
And that was one of the concerns they had is, based on the deed, would they be allowed to run vehicles in there to drop stuff off? And that's one of the things they're going to need to get clarified. I think that's what the discussion was.
Is that the main way in? Because the Tomasians, all the way down Tomasians is a strip too by the river. Where's the access to that?
To which?
The strip along the river, all along there. By
There's
canoe?
no access from the
Just-
Ireland parcel currently.
Okay.
That's what the Conservation Commission wants, to create a recreation area in there.
That'd be nice.
So it was kind of a nexus of ideas of they want to promote trail hiking down there and active recreation, and coupling it with the canoe launch would be kind of a natural thing. You're sharing a parking lot.
That would be very
And
nice.
it'd be kind of a multi-use park.
Very nice.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Eileen?
Okay, so that's the total for the general fund, $8,728,540. Obviously, this looks like a big, huge number compared to the year before, $1,878,300. But you have, we'll give you the breakdown in a little while. A lot of it's federal funding, and part of it, $3.3 million of it is a bond. So that's the general fund. The general fund is where the tax rate is derived. And then we come to a separate fund, which is the wastewater fund, where the sewer user fees pay for the operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant. And so we have phase 3 that's left to be done. And in 2017, 2018, we are planning on spending $350,000 for the engineering of the Phase 3 project. And then there is a plan underway where we hire a company over several years to evaluate our sewer system, so the actual pipes, to make sure, because they haven't been reviewed. They'll bring in cameras and go through the piping itself to make sure that there are no obstructions or corrosion or whatever happens to pipes.
Tree roots.
Tree roots.
Trees.
Yeah. Trees, yeah. Okay, so here's what I was referring to. The current year, you see $1,878,300, and what was funded through the budget was $625,000, which is for the roads. And then it's the same thing in the upcoming year. So 2017, 2018, that is proposed to come through the budget. $1,109,000 is coming from our savings accounts, where we've been saving up money to do these particular projects. The $3.3 million, as I said, that's the one that's the big outlier that, you know, makes this number look really big. Then there's the road improvement fund, which comes from the fees that we charge, and then almost $2.7 million from state aid, which is for the bridge projects, as well as hopefully the TAP grant. Or is that federal?
Federal.
Okay. And then federal money that is coming for bridges and for, hopefully, for the TAP grant that we've applied for. And then the $500,000 is $350,000 for the engineering for $350,000 for the engineering for phase 3 of the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, and $150,000 for the first year of doing that review of the sewer pipes. You can also see that in 2019-20, you can see a big number there. $12,740,000 is the projected cost for the upgrade, the actual construction upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant phase 3.
Have they been talking those kind of numbers? Have they been talking those kind of numbers all along, or is that a brand new? 12 million seems like a brand new number to me.
I've never heard that before.
It hasn't been that high, but we have been talking, bonding it for $5 to $6 to $7 million. It's as we get closer, the price is honing in, and that's where we're getting.
That's skyrocketing. That's
yes.
not honing in. Sorry, Paul.
It is skyrocketing, but our consultants are getting better. As we get closer to the project, they're getting a better feel of the project and a better feel of the construction cost.
And one of the things, too, is often these projects are projected to be done a long time ago, and then they keep getting moved forward at the same dollar amount, and then all of a sudden, when you start getting closer to engineering and you realize that the cost is going to, it's almost like it's a placeholder, and then all of a sudden, as Paul said, as you start getting closer, then you get a more accurate number, which is this is kind of shocking, I would say. I agree with you. Yeah.
Finley?
I mean, should certain things, I'm looking at the 4-year sanitary sewer system evaluation program. Is it $150,000 a year? And if so, does that follow through in the next 4 years in that line? Because you show this sewer, what do you call it?
Number 19.
That upgrade of $12,740,000, and that's the number there. Is that inclusive of that 150?
It's included in there. Right?
Okay.
140 in each.
Yeah.
What number is it on that? What number
The $12
line
million,
is it?
he's
down
asking
at
if
the
that.
At the bottom. Okay, I got you.
Includes
I
that
see.
ongoing, that not ongoing program, but the 4-year, 5-year
Yeah.
program.
Thanks.
Wow.
I don't see it on, what sheet? Oh,
Over
you're looking
here,
at the big sheet.
the long one.
Okay. Too many sheets.
I do like the color coding and all that, because it helps keep
It helps
the
you
line.
separate. Yeah.
It shows at the bottom of the next page, major project expenses. It shows,
Down here,
yeah, at the very bottom.
350 and 150 at the next page down here.
Well, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and that's the 150.
That's
I was
the 1
wondering.
year.
Yeah.
And you're saying over here it shows it going on.
And then there's 12 million.
They're
for the
combined
upgrade.
in with the user fees / bonds. That's for the wastewater treatment plant in that lovely shade of green or whatever that is. that they combine them together. So $500,000 is for a project. It's $150,000 for that first year for the reviewing of the sewer pipes, and then another $350,000 for the engineering for the phase 3 of the project. The next year is $140,000 for that same project, the sewer pipe project, and then the next one has the sewer plant and the combination of the $140,000 and then going forward. So one of the things Paul just had said to me, which I think is important, is what is here for projected bonds. And again, this is, we generally, and everywhere I've worked, we generally only focus in on the first year, even though we have to plan for future years, because every year you'll see that, and I'm sure you've experienced the fact that you don't just move up one year. Priorities change, prices change, and that kind of thing. So this is a tool to extend our view out 6 years, but as I said, the priorities change and that kind of thing. So we have, if you look under the actual green color that says bonds, the $3.3 million
Take a look at 2022.
is for keep your shirt on there. Is $3.3 million for the highway garage, $2,195,000 for South Fire Station, which is our part of it. There's also the $650,000 that we're still holding on to from the mall. And then $2.36 million for proposed sewer extension. And again, that's up to you whether or not you do that or not. And in 2022-23, that's a combination of two placeholders that keep getting moved out and moved out. One is for $6 million for the library, and one is for $2 million for playing fields. And it's always in your last year, every year. Okay, so we look at these from major projects, which you just looked at, and minor projects. So the first thing that we did was we looked at the money that we're going to deposit. We're looking to deposit into our capital reserve funds, and then we're looking at what we wanted to spend out of the capital reserve funds, as well as bonds and that kind of thing for the major projects, and this is the minor projects. So I'm not sure as to how extensive you want to go with this. I know it sounds like a minor project's $516,000.
Yeah, the number used to cut off at 100.
Right. And that is a communications equipment that relates to, I don't know why it's in here. But anyway.
Why is that considered minor?
It's considered minor in the aspect of it when you have major goes in front of the planning board reviews it. Planning board at one time told us they didn't want to get involved with anything over $100,000. That was equipment related. That's why we dropped it down into what we consider the minor projects. It's a major in the cost, but because of its equipment, it gets dropped down into what we consider the major.
Function of project life? I mean, the
Function of
equipment is
project
something that's going to
life.
last 5 years instead of 20 or something like that?
There was a whole, when this all came about, was before my time, but when this all came about, it was a conversation to have that the planning board just wanted to see roads, bridges, infrastructure, and anything with equipment, even though it was there, would just drop down, and really that's up to, at the time, the Board of Selectmen, now the Town Council, whether or not to prove it or not. It's not, that infrastructure for the base radio station here isn't going to help on a road or a development or a sidewalk, or, so they wanted it taken out and put separately. We continue to show the council these projects, and it falls into what they consider a minor, what we consider a minor project, because these all go in front of the council for your approval, whether or not you want to do them or not, similar to the majors, but this stays in here, it doesn't get pushed forward to the planning board.
Okay, so in 2017, 2018, we have a small used pickup truck for building and grounds, this building for Phil. His truck is not sufficient, and he is at the end of its useful life, to say the least. The base radio stations, this is the last year of that big project that we were going to do for the base radio stations that related to the police department. And so this has been planned for the last 3 years, and this is the final phase of it, which includes the last components of the communications system at the police station, as well as a component underneath there for $43,000 that meshes with that for the fire department. Then a planned ambulance purchase from the Capital Reserve Fund, and thermal imaging cameras where
Is that, I'm sorry, is that GIS update? That's done after this year, right?
That's done, yeah. It's done, but we need to start saving for it again, for whenever it needs to be done again. So, what?
It never ends.
So the thermal imaging cameras, those are $20,000 a piece. So they're planned to be purchased for the next, how far? This year, next year, and the year after, it looks like.
20,000 each.
So then hose, various kinds of hose. The fire department is showing in 2018-19 needing a whole revamp of their portable radios. Not for this year's budget, but it's something that needs to be talked about. And access control facility monitoring, that again is that the fire department, much like we have here, which is the key access and that kind of thing. And Opticom repair replacement, we are not planning on adding new locations for Opticom, but we're needing to replace and repair the existing ones, and that's why there's a traffic preemption capital reserve fund, and this is the culmination of the savings. So we've been saving for it, and then we do it, and then we save for it, like a reval, and then we do it.
Dan?
Just to clarify, give a little bit better, broader description when the portable radios, because that sounds so, portable radio, sounds pretty simple, but it's almost $300,000. So could you give a little bit more insight to what that encompasses? Thanks.
We just happen to have.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Okay, currently what we have in the fire department is portable radios. Every member of the department is signed a portable radio, and that's for safety. So when they're on the fire scene, the radios that we use are multi-band, multi-frequencies, and what they have is they have emergency identification devices on them. So if a firefighter goes down or gets lost in the woods, gets stuck in the water, gets trapped in a building, they can actually push a button on that radio. They're sophisticated enough to where it goes to a specific frequency, transmits a communications message to dispatch. Dispatch actually gets the signal, and it puts the name of the firefighter who's assigned that radio. Dispatch gets a hold of me, and actually it comes up on my command center on my vehicle also. And then from when that name comes up, we have somebody that's been identified as having a problem or emergency. And what we do is we activate our RIT team to go in and find that individual to find out what the problem is.
But how much are they a piece?
They range anywhere between $4,000 to $6,000 depending on how the radios work. We're looking right now at about 43, I think, for those radio systems.
I just want to make sure that you understand that this is not, we're not just purchasing gadgets. It's something that we actually have to replace the radios because they're too old to be repaired anymore.
Currently, right now, the radio system that we have, we purchased our whole complement in 2006. We're having a problem with replacement parts, and Motorola's not actually supporting the software of those parts, those radios anymore.
Which is why in 2006 we had to go through that.
That's correct.
That's a little annoying. Not with you.
But what we're doing also is just that we are still looking for grants for this.
Yeah.
This is the event we don't get the grant. As with the SCBA's, we tried once, we did not make it. We tried
Keep on
again, and we
trying.
ended up getting the grant for the SCBA's. We're still working through that process, but we still need to fund it over the
Plan.
years to ensure that we can replace the radios because they're getting old.
And what this is doing also is basically just showing you that he's putting the money in there for the year 2018-19, which is 2 years from now. And by then, we will know whether or not we got the grant or not. By then, you know, that whole discussion will happen during the budget process. Do you want to wait another year and see if we, like we did with the SCBA equipment, and see if we apply for it this year, if we get that grant again? So it's basically letting you know that a couple of years from now, we're going to have a major expense.
Thanks, Chief. If I might add, it sounds like when you put this with another few projects, you're up to $5 million or something. Again, the word bond comes to mind. So maybe, you know, just want to say that out loud. It comes to a certain point where the numbers just become so large, and if you piece together several projects, it's bond worthy.
We'll have that discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to share with my colleagues.
What's on your mind?
The future may hold.
What's in your wallet?
Here's mine.
Okay, most of the rest of this is typical things that you will review these during the budget process. Highway, 2 dump trucks to be proposed to be paid for out of the capital reserve fund. A paint trailer, it's not to paint a trailer, but it is a paint trailer for the highway department. And again, they'll get into that with you as to, you know, why they need that and all that kind of thing when that comes.
I was going to say we know why, because their current facility isn't ventilated properly, and if they're going to do the painting, they have to
Take it on the
makeshift
road.
another resource in order to do it safely.
This isn't the first time we've had trouble with the paint booth. This is the 3rd or 4th time we've had to deal with the inadequacy of that facility and that to deal with that task.
Okay, so there's $35,000. Number 25 is for the operations manager truck, SUV type of thing, that I believe is 15 years old. Yeah. Then there's item in here for the Parks and Rec, this one is very questionable to me. It was brought up, the netting at I'll never get it, Twardowski Field. That was it's number 33 up there. It was something that was discussed kind of casually during our retreat about what could be done and that kind of thing, and to go out and get some prices on what could be done to make that facility safer and more accessible. And the number came back at $50,000. So we'll get into what that entails. But again, you know, it's that whole topic of We have $174,000 in the capital reserve fund currently for athletic fields, and, you know, is this something that you want to spend that for? Or is this something more elaborate than you had in mind? And I think it probably is.
Tom?
No, we've been talking about this for 10 years,
$50,000?
the netting. Nobody ever gave us a price.
Right, no one did.
Okay. And because, and this year, it's worse because now the soccer kids are out there and the softball players are out there. And there's cars all over the place on Natticook Road. You come around that corner and you're threading a needle. in
That's
some
been a
instances.
discussion every single year.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I think, from my perspective, okay, you got to take a more holistic look at that whole site. And it's not just the netting, it's an adequate shoulder
Reconfiguration.
and reconfiguring the parking area. Okay? And I keep looking at that tree with the picnic table under it, and it's never occupied. Now, unless the tree is sacred, why is it still
It looks
there?
good.
Huh?
We're going to have an interesting discussion.
We'll talk about that. Just keep going.
Keep going.
Just saying.
Yes, Paul?
The netting on, I sit on another committee that has had us in another town, and we've looked at this project with netting around ball fields. And when I saw the number that they wanted to do, this is for 120 linear feet long by 50 feet high. And that was the quote that that other committee got for a similar netting that we did. And we were looking at it, and it's nothing, it's not high end, it's not low end. It would stop a ball from passing through if it hits it properly, and it's going to drop down.
That is just the netting?
That's just the netting. That's the cost for just the netting. And there's companies out there that do this. And this
That's a
was
structure that goes up 100 feet straight?
50 feet straight up, 120 feet linear.
So why doesn't it just bend over the whole batting area and avoid balls coming out?
There's problems with that too because of, we can get into it. There's a lot of engineering that has to go around in this.
Be prepared for those
Yes, we will
questions.
be. I have
Tom,
more than
physics.
enough.
Well, I know.
A round ball and a round bat, it's physics.
You
And the
can
speed of the
support
ball
that
coming off the
netting
bat.
curved over there a lot easier than you can support it straight up.
Plus, plus young men and middle-aged men swinging a bat that make the bat do funny things.
We're not going to get into those details.
That's it. But that's just for, I just want to say that was just for the netting. But Kyle is aware, and we have talked about reconfiguring if possible.
Continue.
Okay, so under police, we have 3 patrol vehicles to be replaced and 1 detective vehicle.
I know this isn't really the subject, but are we replacing vehicles now with SUVs instead of
Yes.
cars? And so the SUV for highway is more expensive than the police SUV?
It's it's a different fit-up because it requires certain things.
The police SUVs fit up. We went through, they were costing us $9,000 to fit up all the SUVs.
Huh.
We have all SUVs now, so when we bring in a replacement vehicle, we don't have to buy the fit up. For the SUV, for the highway, we have to buy the SUV fit up, the new SUV fit
Initial?
up, because the light bar isn't going to fit.
The highway has light bars?
They have the lights in the car, so when this vehicle stopped on the side of the road, it actually has its warning lights and all that, and you got to fit it up for the radio mounts and everything else.
Okay.
I think I
That's a
remember
discussion for another
when you were
time.
comparing the cost of the old police vehicles versus the SUVs, it was comparable. That they weren't. I was going to say cheaper, but I didn't trust
Not
myself.
a lot, but, right?
Yes.
When you consider the fit-up versus the other and.
In total.
Yeah.
Cost me more.
Yes, Dan.
On that question, what was the philosophy behind, or was there one, versus mixed sedans and SUVs, or all future purchases will be SUVs? Is there a reason?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. I think we discussed that maybe at one of the meetings, probably a year or so ago, when we started thinking about moving from the SUV to, or from the Interceptor, which was the sedan model, to the SUV. The bottom line is that the SUV offered much more room inside the vehicle to allow for, more importantly, prisoner access. We could put prisoners in the back seat much more efficiently and effectively, and remove them much more efficiently and effectively, and give them much more room in the back seat than we were able to do so with the Ford Interceptors. The big question came to mind is, what are we going to lose by going toward the SUV style of vehicle? And the answer was nothing, because the SUV is virtually the Interceptor, the sedan, with a bigger body on it. The drivetrain, the frame, the body itself, the engine, transmission, the all-wheel drive system is identical. So in terms of mileage and fuel economy, we were seeing almost an equitable split. And of course, the maintenance with both is similar because of the nature of the drivetrains and the engines. So we thought, by virtue of going up to the SUV and giving us that much more effectiveness while we're out there in terms of our ability to get to where we need to go because of the all-wheel drive capabilities, as well as the roominess to put our equipment and for access for our prisoners and folks getting in and out of the vehicles as well. It made much more sense for us to do that.
Thanks.
Also, just got a quick, is when they downgrade those SUVs to us for our inspectors.
We can hear you, but nobody else
Also,
can.
just another thing on the SUVs, as those vehicles come off the police line, they get downgraded to fire, building, and health. The equipment that we have fits in those vehicles better, so they're
It's
reused,
compatible.
and they're better use for the second time around when we get those vehicles.
I think I remember discussion too in terms of accessibility
Yeah.
and different roads that you need to go on, that it's much more useful. Anything else? Lisa? Okay, go ahead.
So where are we now? 38, solid waste disposal trailers. Over the next, we have 4 trailers, roll-off trailers at the transfer station. What?
They're live floor trailers.
Life floor, yeah.
Live floor trailers.
And they have reached the end of their useful life. And so we have
No, looks like 1 a year.
1 a year, but they have both reached, 2 of them have reached their useful
We
life.
we bought all 4 of them at the same time. We're not buying 4 now. We're splitting it out 1 a year.
Okay.
We've done some repairs to some
I was
of them,
going to
so
say,
we
are
can
those
get
the
some.
ones that you've sort of
Yes.
jerry-rigged?
Yes, we did some
For now.
repairs to some of them, so we were able to push 2 of them out to years
219,
4 and
20.
5, and we have 2 that are really unrepairable, one more so than the other. So that's why we're doing the next 2 years in a row of replacing 2 trailers.
Okay, technology, continuation on upgrading our licenses. We've been doing that for 3 or 4 years because we didn't have any licenses. Hmm?
We really did.
And the second one is campus Wi-Fi for town hall and the police station and fire, so that we're all compatible, and we don't have to go for, if, like Paul gives a description of, if he comes to town hall in his building, he's on the Wi-Fi in his building, and then he has to come over and change to the Wi-Fi in the
Different.
second building, and then he goes to the fire department and he has to change to the Wi-Fi over there, and
So
then,
it's a different network?
they're not different networks.
They're not different networks.
servers.
The way our Wi-Fi is set up, it was never a commercial Wi-Fi. It was, more like residential Wi-Fis. So there's a Wi-Fi that sits in this building, there's a Wi-Fi that sits in the other Old Town Hall, Eileen's building, and in the police department, there's actually 3 Wi-Fis that sit in the 3 areas of the police department. So there's one on the left, one on the right, and one for the middle. And when you bounce from one area to another, you get kicked off the previous Wi-Fi and you have to connect. So if they're doing a presentation or a report, they got to sign back in on their computers to get into the new Wi-Fi. And similar in the fire department, there's in different areas of the building, you lose connectivity to the Wi-Fi, and this will just make it a stronger, more commercialized Wi-Fi so that, and it'll be a closed network. Whereas our Wi-Fi, some of our Wi-Fis now in Town Hall are open to the public. These campus Wi-Fis will be a closed network, so you'll have to have the proper identifications on your computer to sign in.
Yeah.
No, I just think that you need to get a better explanation when you're going to present that program. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors you just waved there, so.
Oh, so he recognized
So
it.
maybe
There
you
we
can
go.
get our technology guy to come in and talk about the needs and.
All of these things will be reviewed in great detail when we
That's what
get
I
to the
figured. I was
budget.
going to try and be quiet about it, but you
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah.
But be
Okay.
prepared.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Every single one of these things
Yeah.
will be.
But I mean, that's a legitimate question. I
Mhm.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's why we
Um,
have people like you.
Everybody knows we have a Tom Koenig on the board, so.
Who has the
that-
knowledge
Who has
to
the
know what to
knowledge
ask.
to ask the right questions, right?
But still, it's an area we have no
So
knowledge
we
on.
we need you for that. So, then all of these are wastewater treatment, issues, manhole rehabilitation, closed caption TV, camera equipment that's to replace equipment that is 15, 20 years old, and that's to do, as you know, we're planning on doing that, a similar kind of thing, but hiring somebody to do that, and that will be along the roadways. That 4-year project that we talked about, the $150,000 a year, or 140. This one is to replace the one that we have now, and it goes over land and that kind of thing, rather than the sides of the road and that kind of thing. Then there's a skid steer loader. That's two. Again, paid for by user fees. 3 tires for $12,500.
Go right ahead.
3, why
Do you wanna
4?
put that on a bond?
4 is normally a normal number. When people talk tires, it's usually in sets of 2.
No,
So when I
no,
see-
it's 4 tires. We have 3 loaders. So it's
Oh, 3
3
loaders, tires
tire
for,
That's funny.
right?
3 sets of tires.
yeah,
Trying to save room on the road.
yeah, okay. Oh, no, it was accurate, yeah. Well, what's very
tires.
difficult about this whole thing is that there's so much information that is very detailed, and it needs to all be on one sheet, and it's difficult to present the whole thing out so that it's understandable and easy to view. We'll just finish this up. So then we have replacement instrumentation controllers and probes, which again will be reviewed in detail with Jim Taylor when he comes and presents his budget. This is cable television, basic upgrades to the equipment that, again, Nicholas will get into when he comes before you. So here are the minor project funding sources. We just did the major ones a little while ago. So in year one, $1,452,000 would come from the capital reserve funds. In other words, those savings accounts that we were talking about. $133,000 would be spent from the general fund operating budget.
From the budge.
Budge, yes, yeah, budgie. So, and user fees and bonds, $212,000. That is the sewer fund. And cable franchise fees, obviously, that is for the media fund. So, again, very difficult to see, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to show you what we have down the left side of the page, which we can't see that well, is what the capital reserve funds are that we have, and I know that you know what they are. They were voted for by the people at various times during the history of the town, and money gets deposited in there in order to pay cash for certain items that are very specific and were outlined when they were approved. So at the end of 2016, we had approximately $3 million in the capital reserve funds. Some of those were, that you need to keep in mind that some of those were monies that we've been saving money for quite some time, and then they were spent. So, and that particular year, we put in $1.6 million, and we spent $1.4 million. And again, I'm just talking about, I'm leaving the milfoil out and all that kind of thing. I'm just on the line that says total CRF.
So is this a list of all the total funds?
Yes. So at the end of June 30th, 2016, there was $40,916 in the ambulance fund. We put in $85,000, and at the end of June 30th, 2017, we had accumulated $125,000 in that capital reserve fund. So I'm just giving you this line so it's easier to see. And then in 2017, 2018, we have proposed putting in $115,000, which would add to the $125,000 that was at the end of the year, and then subtracting out $235,000 to purchase an ambulance, which would only leave us with $5,000 at the end of 2018, at which time we would propose to put $80,000 in. So that's how it kind of happens. So at the end of June 30th, 2016, as I said, we had approximately $3 million. At the end of June 30th, 2017, we had almost $3.2 million. At the end of 2018, which is the year that we're talking about, we project that we'll have $2.1 million left in the capital reserve funds. And then going forward, 2.1 again the next year. So these are the ins, what we put in and what we take out.
Quick oddball question, salt shed. Why refresh my memory on the history. Why would the salt shed been on a capital reserve fund?
I have no idea.
The salt shed, the new salt shed that went in about 8 years ago, cost about $300,000, and at that time, people decided that we needed a capital reserve in case we needed a new salt shed, to build a new salt shed. That structure has because it was so expensive. That structure has lasted, maybe in 5 or 6 more years, we're going to have to start looking at whether or not we need to start putting money in to replace that structure. But right now, that structure is sound. Engineers have told us that structure is sound. It's built sound. It's weathering properly. That's why.
You have to, your thing's not on? Or you need to get close to one
all
of
right.
the two.
I didn't have my thing on. So I know that there are a lot of questions. There's a lot of information that we gave to you tonight. What it basically is a snapshot of what we can anticipate over the next six years so that we can plan for the future in whatever way that you choose to do it. These are the needs that the departments have requested, and the funding sources from which they will come should you approve them. So, as I said, this is basically to give you a snapshot of planning for the future for various things, and then what happens is that in this upcoming year's budget deliberations and meetings with the department heads, you will review each of these items with, when the highway department comes in, you can talk to them about Executive Park Drive, or you can talk to them about any of those kinds of things, and that's probably the most appropriate time to go over those individual items.
The only thing I'd add and encourage the councilor to do, including myself, is if there are questions you intend to ask the directors, the supervisors, that you email the questions so they can come prepared with answers. I don't think it's, obviously there are some things they should know off the top of their head, but if you're going to be asking for specific data, the history of how much have you paid in the past, I don't think it's unreasonable to be able to give them a little heads up and give them time to get the data together to have it ready for you that night. So that's all I encourage everyone to do.
Do you want them to pass that through the town manager so that they're not getting
Absolutely,
blitzed
absolutely.
with stuff?
And you don't have to send it to me. Send it right to the town manager.
Right
And
to-
CC you? How do you want it done?
Go right to the source and ask the horse.
Do you want UCC'd?
You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me.
Just to be able to get to, so send it to the actual supervisor, but
And CC
CC
me.
Eileen.
Yeah.
Sound all right?
Doesn't matter.
Why am
But,
I not convinced of the look?
Doesn't
We'll
really
have to
matter.
make sure the absent people are told.
Right.
Okay.
So, in closing, I just want to say that this requires an awful lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of thinking to put this thing together for the individual department heads and to project it out for 6 years. And it also requires a lot of work on Paul's part to think about how the funding sources will happen so that we have adequate money and adequate planning for capital reserve funds, potential bonds and that kind of thing, so that all the numbers come out. And I just want to thank everybody who worked on this because it's very complicated. What's that?
Thank you for being here.
And thank you for being here tonight.
I want to say that too. We all appreciate the work, so I'm going to speak for the council that we appreciate having several weeks
Right,
to
to
go
look
through
at.
this. You know, and I know I speak for everybody when I say that, because it's important for us to do our jobs come January, and we'll be prepared because you allowed us to be prepared with everything that was in here. So thanks.
Right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Almost there, everybody. Oh, thank you, Paul. Okay, Town Code Revision Discussion. The Town Council to discuss the review and revision of the chapters of the Merrimack Town Code in accordance with Charter Article Roman numeral 5, Section 5-6, parentheses C. Why is everyone leaving? Because they can.
The party's over.
Okay, just to let everyone know,
I move the Tom Mahon.
hold on, let me explain. This is a copy, I have 2 copies of the town code. Now, what, I told Becky not to put it in your binders because we didn't need it, but she gave me, I said, give me 2 copies in case.
One for
What-
Tom Mahon, one for Bill Boyce.
What, a motion, keep that motion.
I have one question.
I'm not
Did
done
Tom go
explaining.
through this?
Well, let me
Because if he
finish.
did,
the-
I'm ready to
go
make a
through-
motion and say, let's go.
Let
Can I
me
go
finish.
through what?
Let me finish the explanation, and then that might answer it. You can be the second to his motion. What you have been given is just a summary of the various chapters. A lot of these were done by Tim Tenhagen. So they've been updated 5 years ago. Yeah, imagine that. And a lot of what you're going to see, a lot of them highlighted, there are a lot of chapters that have been superseded by the town charter. And if you actually look in here, when it says like chapter 38, superseded by charter article, da-da-da-da. So we don't have to do anything with them, okay? The highlighted ones are the ones that we have to do, and I'd ask Becky to summarize. There are 31 total chapters that have to be reviewed, 17, this doesn't add up, 17 that need to be reviewed soon, and due within 2 years, 10. That does not add up to 31.
Are there 4 that have been superseded?
How did this happen?
How could what happen?
This schedule, if you will.
Well, I don't know. All I know,
I don't see a schedule.
Well, it says active chapters 31, due for review 17, due within 2 years 10. That's not the intent of the charter article. The intent of the charter article is the entire code gets reviewed every 5 years.
correct, but
Not-
some of the articles have been reviewed within the 5 years. For example, at the very,
No, every 5 years, regardless of intervening
in
action.
total, in total.
Right.
Which is what was going to be my suggestion, that all of these be done so that they're all on the same.
Right, and that was the
So
intent.
some of the ones, like welfare guidelines, was done in 14. Well, let's still review them and get them done and keep them all in the same. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes,
I concur.
yes.
So
The
we don't
intent-
get into
The
this.
intent of the Charter Commission and the intent of the article was every 5 years, everything gets looked at,
Okay,
regardless of what, like we just did 142 today,
right.
okay?
Just, it'll be an automatic updating.
Yeah.
So
Take a
we-
look at it, doesn't need to be changed.
Right.
Does this still fit? If it does, fine, if it doesn't.
Right. So we
adjust
do
it.
know, if you look through, a lot of it has to do Conservation Commission, Heritage Commission. Becky has already asked them to review it, so we're probably going to have to set up a timeline for that. But I'm open to suggestions on how we would like to deal with this. Go right ahead,
I let my
Finley.
thoughts be known.
No, make it
I-
public.
No, I
'Cause
like
you have
for
a
Tom
second.
Mahon, I think he's a genius with these things. He loves doing it. And I think he might have a little time on his hands.
He knows most of it already.
He
That's
does.
right.
You might as well give it, it should be assigned to the most qualified person in the room. And that would be Tom Mahon.
Well, I'm not sure if we can assign just Tom, but maybe he can lead a
I,
smaller group.
as long as his scheduling of meetings to go over this were reasonable, I would help him out.
I second that.
If he would like that.
Who said I was going to do it?
You are being strongly encouraged and pleaded
You
with.
may get outvoted.
Yes.
Oh, he will, for sure.
Unless you have an alternate position.
Nancy?
Yes, Eileen.
One of the things also that, as Nancy had said, several of these things are very specific to, like code enforcement and all those kinds of things. So they'll be providing updates for all those kinds of things.
Fire
And,
department, police.
right,
A lot of it's formatting
a lot of it's.
and being consistent, as you know, Tom.
And new RSAs or different RSA numbers or, I mean, as the fire chief has said, he wants to come in with some code changes relative to solar panels and installation and that kind of thing. So now would be the time to do that. So my point really is that you would not have to go through each one of these. We can assign the respective responsible person to do their part of it.
I have a
Let's
total of
look at it this
6
way.
that are truly town council.
Yeah, it took me a year to do the welfare guidelines. Over a year.
You don't have that much time.
I know that. I'm counting on that.
It shouldn't. I know it didn't. I'm ignoring it.
Well, it
I think
has to be
most of
done within a year, I would think, right?
It's more brushing up than the total overall.
Sorry, didn't mean to sound anything.
I would think.
I would think most of them are in decent shape. In my opinion, and it may not be accurate, Tom, is that a lot of it's just being consistent, changing formatting, make sure that the language, I mean, I remember when Tim did it, I mean, my God,
PWD, DWP.
that kind of stuff.
You got the wrong guy if you're,
No, nobody's going to expect you to do formatting. We have secretarial staff that do that.
You know what I'm
so.
talking about. I don't mean literally.
yeah.
You know, I want to change within the document all these things. But I don't think, my opinion is, and I'd be very happy to meet as well, is Tom, I'd like to see chair it or coordinate it, but be able to, I'd be happy to work as well.
Yeah, that's us and all the staff.
Yeah, this is something that, I mean, Tim does this kind of stuff with the planning and zoning stuff all the time. Tim Thompson does, and it would seem like the staff would be responsible for reviewing the majority of it to make sure it's current.
Right.
That we, I guess, as a council could form a committee that you've just suggested and
To review
just kind
it.
of review it before it comes to the council so that
Right.
we don't have to spend a lot of time nitpicking.
Yeah, like a lot of these
here.
things, the police, fire, again, there are 6 things that have been identified, like peddling and soliciting. That's us. That's not anyone else that I could,
Well, it's the town managers.
but
The
She works
problem,
for us.
you know what I mean. But I do know what you mean as well. A lot of it has to do with Kyle, a lot of fire, so point
and-
well taken. But having a responsible person who knows what they're talking about when it comes to, yeah, guidance, that's it. Good kiss.
part of the issue with relying on the department heads is that in the past, they have taken the easy way out. And that's why these were in such horrible condition 10 years ago when the Charter Commission started looking at them, okay? They would come in for one thing, not thinking about what else would go on. Now, if they're going to do the same thing this time, we're wasting our time.
So what's your suggestion?
I have no idea.
Let's just get started. What we'll do is we'll assign each of the departments their section, and they can just get started on it. And then we'll review it,
Yeah,
and
they
we'll
need-
see what's missing, and
Well, the trouble is they hang on to stuff that should go, okay? And that's part of the difficulty.
But again, this was done 5 years ago,
I know.
done well. So there shouldn't be major cleanup to do like there was last time.
One would hope.
Tim had anything to do with it, I'm
I
sure of
understand.
that. I would not say that.
And we've been,
if I
well,
didn't
no,
know.
we've been pretty vigilant, if you will, about what we've done and how we've done it since then,
Right.
so that we've maintained some consistency.
Right.
And we've made sure that if there were linkages, that we got all the linkages between the different provisions of the code. And that's where the breakdown often occurs. One is stuff they don't want to get rid of. And, you know, it's a bureaucracy. I mean, it's the way it works sometimes. And again, it's not, I'm not saying they're bad guys or anything like that. It's just,
No.
it's just, you know, I got enough on my plate. I don't care about that. You know, those sorts of things.
Would you
But-
be willing to, so what? Go ahead, Annie.
let me just get started,
Okay.
okay? I'll get everybody working on their part of it. We'll see what we have left. We'll have the clerical staff review to make sure that the statutes are relevant and all that kind of thing. And once we put it together, we'll give it to a Tom-like person, Tom M-like person, who shall remain nameless, to review it for, so you'll at least have something that,
Can
of
jump off from.
substance that you could, of real substance that you could work with. And I'll
So
work
you're
with
saying
you
you don't want
too,
that?
but it's not, that's your thing, you know.
Yep.
You and Tim take that name.
Speaking of skill sets,
This is the time to get rid of stuff that isn't used anymore.
And that's why we want you.
And this is also the time that if there are changes out there that should be
To be
incorporated
changed,
in
yeah.
here, they should be put in here. I mean, the
Yeah.
only, I'll go back to the fire alarm discussion we had in here. When I asked them, why are you still doing this? You know? And
no
they,
particular reason.
and-
Because we always have.
because we always did it this way.
Yes, Dan?
I didn't want to have to say this out loud, but Tom's has an attitude, and I'm not quite sure where he's going. So I just wanted to remind you, sir, that we had candidates for this position. We chose you on purpose for your knowledge
I
and
understand that.
expertise to guide us. And this is one of
Oh,
the.
that's a low blow.
This was
Wow.
this is a project that
That's
we we counselors would really rely on you to take this home.
Whoa, whoa.
Thank you.
Here, here.
That's now in the record.
This was not part of the discussion.
That question never came up.
That's right.
Well, you
I
know
can
that-
assure you.
Under job description and anything else deemed necessary?
What job description?
Thank
Yes,
We'll
that'll be
work
good.
on it. We'll work on it.
I think he's making us big, is what it is, so I'm ready to move on with Eileen's suggestion. Get-
Okay, minutes. Approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2016.
So moved.
Motion made by Tom Mahan. Any changes, corrections, Tom, that you can see? No. Second?
I'll say.
Second by Finley Rothaus. And I believe, who was not there? I think Tom Mahan, you were not.
Wait a minute. I wasn't even there.
You weren't even here, I don't believe.
No.
No, you can't move them.
So you can't move them. So motion made by Finley Rothaus, seconded by,
Finley seconded him.
well, you're
You
becoming
just-
the
you
main
just made
motion
it.
now.
Okay.
Seconded by Dan Dwyer, would it be?
I think I have to abstain because I think that was the date I wrote. What does it say?
No, it just says Mahan.
Okay then.
I second.
Okay. So this is going to be based upon 5, because you're going to abstain. Okay, are there any changes?
There's a,
Go right ahead.
there's a phrase, I'm not sure how it would be clarified, on line 44 of page 6. Counselor Koenig asked for clarification, the people that would have helped drive that forward are the commissioners, or if they're looking for direct input from the different town councils to.
Regarding people,
Just doesn't go.
regarding people that would have
Ask for
helped?
clarification, if the people that would have helped, or that would help,
Regarding the people that would have
drive-
helped drive that forward, are the commissioners, or if they are looking for direct input from different town councils?
And I may have asked the question that way, and it's pretty darn convoluted, but.
Would you like to
I'm not sure what
revise it, though?
I'm not sure how to rephrase that. To basically asking for, did they expect the commissioners to be giving them input, or were they asking the town councils to give them input? And there's a lot of words in there that probably don't need to be.
I have a suggestion, a colon at the end of clarification, and then if the people that would have helped drive that forward are the commissioners, or if they are looking for direct input.
That's what I was saying, if instead of. the.
Break it up,
Yeah, put an if in front of the people, yeah.
If the
and
people.
a colon after clarification.
Okay. Colon after clarification and change.
Because that'll
the
break it
to
up.
if.
If the people.
And
No, it would
they
be
won't.
the-
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
if the people include the, yeah. Okay.
Or if the NRPC. I mean, that second word, if they, probably should be replaced by NRPC or something like that, just to understand who the they are in that portion, in line 45.
Or if the, if
Or if the NRPC is looking for
NRPC
direct input.
Yeah.
Is looking for. So line 45, change they.
If
to
they are looking
NRPC.
to, if NRPC is looking.
Is looking for, yeah.
That
Clarifies
Sounds
it
clearer
even
to me.
more.
I think that's what I was driving at.
Any others? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None abstain. So that's 4. No. 5-0-1. Tom Mahan is abstaining. It's not even that late. Comments from the press. There's nobody here, so I think I can answer that. Comments from the public, same. Comments from the council. Wow, nothing. I guess we're going to have a quiet evening. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Tom Koenig, second
Second.
by Tom Mahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No one will dare. 6-0-0. Good night, everyone.